It was quite busy earlier today when the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress began the nationwide strike, withdrawing services in all federal government parastatals to push for a new national minimum wage for workers. The labour unions on Sunday insisted on going ahead with the strike despite all efforts by government to draw them back to the negotiation table. TVC News reporters were out and about capturing the situation.
This morning, the Transmission Company of Nigeria announced a total shutdown of the grid by the Nigerian Labour Congress. Now, the Benin Area Control Center was brought to zero. Other transmission substations that were shut down by the Labour include the Gombe, Ayede, Olorunshogo, Akungba and Oshogbo transmission substation. Now, some transmission lines were equally opened due to the ongoing activities of the Labour Union. The sudden forced load cuts led to the high frequency and system instability, which eventually shut down the national grid at about 2:19 a.m. today. At the powerhouse, Labour leaders here say they are following the directive of the national Labour body.
Power is an essential service, but it's unfortunate that our leaders today have to make us to go to this extent for we to actually achieve our goal.
Ijoma Ikechukwu sells her small wares here in front of the powerhouse. She says absence of workers has greatly affected her sales.
It has affected me in a very big way. As you can see, everywhere is so slow, nothing is moving. We are just sitting down watching the whole scenario. Then electricity, in fact, is no go area. Poor masses cannot survive in this country anymore. Food you cannot buy. A mudu of beans in the market is 2,500. There is no 100 naira pepper in the market anymore. I don't know how they want us to survive anymore. President Tinubu should do something over this because the poor masses are suffering. We are really suffering and we are crying. He should come out and help us so that Nigeria will move forward. Although the Transmission Company of Nigeria commenced grid recovery using the Shiroro substation to attempt to feed the transmission lines supplying bulk electricity to the Katampe transmission substation, the process is still very slow and the present situation is such that the Labour Union is still obstructing grid recovery nationwide. It is believed that the federal government will go back to the negotiating table with the Nigerian Labour Congress to ensure that their demands on both sides are met and brought to a reasonable conclusion. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
The impact of the strike is palpable across Kaduna. Government agencies are completely shut down with padlocks on gates, signaling the cessation of operation.
If you're talking that you're going to pay a minimum wage of 46,000, it's as if you're mocking the Nigerian workforce. If that is going to make them to give us what we are expected to have, I think I'm in support of it.
Schools have also been affected. Students of Kaduna State Polytechnic and University were prevented from gaining access to their campuses. We spoke to a final year student who believes it's worth the inconvenience if it leads to improved living standards.
I'm okay with it. Even the fact that I'm not going to write my paper today, my last exam today, because the prices of food in the market are very expensive. Almost everything you touch in the market are very expensive. So I'm okay with it.
At the NLC headquarters, a call center has been set up to ensure that all activities remain shut down. Ayuba Suleiman, the chairman of the Kaduna State NLC, provided an update on the situation.
Compliance is like 90%, but we have pocket of issues, and that is why we have the call center from the field. The officers that are ensuring compliance are calling to report where they have issues. I think the Labour cannot be blamed because we have given sufficient and adequate notice to the government to do the needful, and they failed to do that.
The strike's impact extends to the petrol sector, with filling stations closed, which could severely affect daily life if the strike persists. Workers and other residents of the state are hoping the federal government and Labour come to terms as soon as possible to prevent the looming hardship this may cause to Nigerians. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
It is a mixed fruit of activities and reactions as the nationwide shutdown imposed by the Nigerian Labour Congress kicks off. Some residents of Gombe town carry on as if it were any other day, while others lament the impact of the industrial action. Crowds gathered at the entrances of the various commercial banks, desperate to access cash. Some are calm, as others express their frustration.
You are going to kill my wife, bah? I'm not
The consensus is that both the government and labor leaders must return to the negotiation table.
I cannot say that our government are bad. Our government are good. Why? Because we have good leadership. We have a good leadership. Why? Because we people, we have to be patient. You understand? When we be patient, sometimes, even though today is not your turn, today is not your turn, tomorrow is your turn.
My advice for the government and labor, strike is not a solution.
Adamu Shinge traveled over 70 kilometers from his village to the state capital to withdraw money for his farming activities. He did not get the money that he needs for his farm, neither does he have the money to return home.
People are suffering. No water, no light, and money is hard to come by.
At the main market in Gombe town, it is almost business as usual, except for low patronage. The Federal Secretariat paints a typical picture of the effects of an industrial action. The doors are locked and civil servants have stayed away from work in compliance with NLC directives.
Many of these residents of Gombe are angry. There has been disruption of water and electricity supply for several weeks, even before this strike action. Now, they can't get access to their money and other basic services. They hope for a speedy resolution of the impasse between the federal government and labor unions, so that their lives, which has been pretty difficult, can get some measure of relief. Landry Adiemi, TVC News, Gombe.